Let's start at the absolute bottom. In 2014, the world saw the footage of Baltimore Ravens star Ray Rice dragging his unconscious fiancée out of an elevator like a piece of luggage. It was haunting, it was violent, and it was a PR nightmare. The NFL's initial reaction? A staggering 2-game suspension. To put that in perspective, at that exact moment in league history, you could get a 4-game ban for taking a banned cold medicine or a season-long ban for a few grams of weed. The league essentially told the world that domestic violence was half as bad as a Sudafed violation. It wasn't until TMZ released the full video of the punch that the NFL suddenly developed a moral compass and extended the ban. They didn't protect the victim. They protected the player until the video quality got too high to ignore. If you think 2 games for a felony is light, wait until you see how the league handled a quarterback who didn't just have one incident, but a literal fleet of lawsuits following him to his new team. When Deshaun Watson was facing over 20 civil lawsuits for sexual misconduct, the NFL didn't just sit back. They watched as the Cleveland Browns handed him a $230 million contract, specifically structured, so a suspension wouldn't actually cost him any real money. The league's disciplinary officer called his behavior predatory, yet the final settlement was an 11-game suspension. For a guy who had just sat out a whole year anyway, it felt less like a punishment and more like a long lunch break. The NFL protected the star power of a franchise QB, ensuring that the Browns' massive investment wasn't wasted, while the actual allegations were treated like a footnote in a box score. But star players aren't the only ones getting the VIP treatment. Sometimes the wrong guy is the billionaire in the luxury box who thinks he's above the law, and the league usually agrees. For years, the Washington Commanders under Dan Snyder were described as a toxic frat house on steroids. We're talking about allegations of secret cheerleader outtakes videos, pimping out staff, and financial double-dipping. Any other business owner would be in handcuffs, but for years, the NFL treated Snyder like a protected species. When the league finally investigated, they didn't even release a written report. They gave a summary and a fine that amounted to less than 1% of the team's eventual sale price. The NFL essentially acted as Snyder's legal shield, keeping the most damning details under wraps to protect the league's collective reputation, only forcing him out when he started allegedly stealing money from the other owners. Speaking of owners who play by their own rules, there's one man in Dallas who didn't just ask for protection. He sued the league until they gave it to him. In the mid-90s, Jerry Jones decided he didn't want to share his Cowboys toy with the rest of the league. While every other team's merchandise money went into a shared pot, Jerry went rogue, signing massive independent deals with Nike and Pepsi. The NFL sued him for $300 million. Jerry, being Jerry, countersued for $750 million. Instead of crushing the rebellion, the NFL folded. They reached a settlement that effectively allowed the Cowboys to keep their own licensing rights. To this day, the NFL protects Jerry's right to be the league's only independent billionaire. It was the ultimate wrong guy win. The league let one man break the rules of revenue sharing just because he was too loud and too rich to fight. But protecting the money is easy. Protecting a golden boy image, while evidence is literally being fed into a shredder, that takes real skill. In 2007, the New England Patriots were caught filming the Jets' defensive signals. This wasn't a he said, she said. They had the tapes. This was a direct hit to the integrity of the game. So, what did Commissioner Roger Goodell do? He fined them, sure. But then, in a move that still baffles fans, he ordered the destruction of the evidence. By burning the tapes and notes, the NFL ensured that no one would ever know the true extent of the cheating. They protected the Patriot way and the league's most successful dynasty from a scandal that could have delegitimized years of Super Bowl trophies. They chose a clean narrative over a messy truth. Cheating is one thing, but what about when the wrong guy is a legend caught in a scandal involving money meant for the poorest people in America? The Mississippi welfare scandal is one of the largest public fraud cases in state history, and NFL legend Brett Favre is right in the middle of it. Text messages showed Favre asking if the media could find out where the money for a new volleyball stadium was coming from. Money that was meant for families in poverty. While the legal battle rages on in civil court, the NFL has remained remarkably silent. There's been no personal conduct investigation of the same intensity they'd give a rookie with a vape pen. By saying nothing, the league is protecting the Iron Man legacy of one of its greatest icons, hoping the story stays in the local papers and off the national highlights. Legacy is important, but sometimes the NFL protects a player's current availability even when the audio recordings of their behavior are literally public record. If the Ray Rice case was about the NFL being forced to act by a video, the Tyreek Hill case in 2019 was about the NFL finding every possible loophole to stay silent. At the time, Hill was the focal point of a child abuse investigation after his 3-year-old son ended up with a broken arm. The local district attorney, Steve Howe, went on record saying he believed a crime had been committed. But he couldn't prove who did it between Hill and his fiancée, Crystal Espinal. Then came the audio. An 11-minute recording surfaced where Espinal tells Hill their son is terrified of him. Hill's response wasn't a denial. It was a threat. "You need to be terrified of me too." In that same recording, they discussed the boy's injuries and Hill's parenting methods, which allegedly included punching the child in the chest and using a belt for discipline. Now, usually, the NFL's personal conduct policy doesn't require criminal conviction to trigger a suspension. They've suspended players for far less based on threatened physical violence. But in Hill's case, the league conducted a 4-month investigation and concluded that because they couldn't access the sealed court records from the child custody case, they didn't have verifiable evidence that Hill violated the policy. They essentially argued that Hill's terrified comment, when viewed in the full context of the recording, didn't warrant a suspension. It was a masterclass in legal hair-splitting. By ignoring the blatant threat and the prior history, including Hill's 2014 domestic violence conviction, the NFL ensured the Chiefs had their most explosive playmaker available for a Super Bowl run. It was the ultimate shield move. If the evidence is behind a sealed door, the NFL isn't going to knock too hard if a superstar is on the other side. Sometimes protection isn't about avoiding a suspension. It's about changing the rules entirely to make sure a certain type of player never gets hurt again. After Tom Brady tore his ACL in 2008, the NFL didn't just mourn the loss of its biggest star. They changed the law. They instituted a rule that defenders couldn't lunge at a quarterback's legs. While marketed as player safety, fans quickly noticed that this protection didn't seem to apply as strictly to mobile, dual-threat QBs. For years, the league protected the statue quarterbacks who moved the needle on TV, while letting the rest of the league deal with the "football is a tough game" excuse. It's the structural protection of the league's most valuable assets over the fairness of the hit. But the most dangerous thing the NFL ever protected wasn't a player or an owner. It was a lie that threatened the lives of every man who ever put on a helmet. For decades, the NFL's Mild Traumatic Brain Injury Committee was the league's personal shield against reality. They published papers claiming concussions weren't a problem, and that NFL players were somehow immune to long-term brain damage. They protected their bottom line by discrediting independent doctors and ignoring the bodies piling up. They protected the gladiator image of the sport, while their former stars were losing their minds to CTE. This wasn't just protecting a guy, it was protecting a multi-billion-dollar industry by sacrificing the people who built it.